Hey everyone, I had chapters 11 and 12. Chapter 11 is titled, Why Should Restaurants Ditch Their Baskets of Mints? I thought this was pretty interesting, the way that they kind of talked about this entire scenario, because there really was a huge difference in taking the basket of mints away from the front whenever people are leaving and doing something different with them. So there are 3 different studies that they talked about in this chapter, but the biggest takeaway from this was the timing, the importance of the timing when trying to persuade someone. So the 3 different studies, the first one was, and so instead of the basket of mints being in the front as people are leaving, the waiter gives each person at the table 1 mint with the check. So this worked. I mean, it increased tips a little bit. It increased them by 3%, but they did another study. The second study was giving 2 mints per person at the table. So this increased the tips by 14%, which is a huge difference from 3%. So it just showed that giving more when, they're giving 2 mints instead of 1, which is just a matter of pennies in the difference of the cost. So it's not going to take away from the profit at all or anything. So this showed such an improvement, and it made the guests feel a lot more appreciated, so it increased the tips. But the third study was a waiter giving everybody at the table 1 mint per person, turning away after the check was presented, saying goodnight, whatever, turning away, and then turning back after just a second or two from walking away from the table and saying, hey, here's another mint for you guys because y'all are so awesome, kind of thing. So since I've explained the 3 studies, I will jump into the 3 main trials. I mean, the trials kind of proved these 3 major factors that this entire chapter was about. So the first factor is significance. I think that the significance part of this was that, 1 more mint was so much more significant. So what I mean is 2 mints were so much more significant than 1 mint. So adding an extra mint just showed that, significance in the amount of offerings that you're giving to somebody who just dined with you increased by 11% in your tips rather than just giving 1. So trial number 1 proved that, or trial number 2 proved that. But this didn't increase the cost enough to really make a difference. So trial number 3, when the waiter turned around and came back, was the most astronomical difference. So the second factor is unexpectedness. The table was not expecting the waiter to turn around and give another mint. And it's so silly because it's just a mint, but it's about the way that our minds process things and the way that we feel whenever we're given something. So the unexpectedness of trial number 3 made a huge improvement on the 14%. It actually rose to 23%, I believe. So then the third factor is personalization. So because the waiter turned back and it was like he thought about it for a minute and then was like, wait, these people were so great, let me give them an extra mint. So that's what he did. And that shows personalization, because the waiter had a special liking for that specific table. And another big thing that was from this entire chapter, so the 3 factors show that, whenever you're giving a gift, you want to do all of these 3 things. You want it to be personalized, you want it to be unexpected, and you want it to be significant. And the main thing that could get misinterpreted from this entire idea is that you don't want to seem unethical. You don't want to do this with every single table. You don't want to do this with every single person that you get a gift for, whether you're using these factors for giving a gift for one of your friends. You don't want to do this with everybody because that makes it not personalized. That makes it not unexpected. So if a table, but for this specific example, if a table sees you doing this with all of your other tables and then you do it with them, they're just going to think that you're unethical and you're not an honest person, which anybody can understand that. So moving on to chapter 12. It opens with referring back to the reuse of towels from one of the first, I think it may have been the introduction of the book, and with reusing hotel towels to help the environment and to save money for the hotel. It's an underlying thing that hotels do. So most people think that incentives work, and typically they do. So the book gave the example of, if you want a child to clean their room, offer them an ice cream cone if they do it. So incentives do work, but sometimes they can be taken the wrong way. So the trials that were conducted for this chapter were, so the hotel wanted to give incentives for the guests to reuse their towels. So they did a trial where they just had the regular cards saying, please reuse your towels because we're trying to be environmentally friendly. So then a portion of the hotel rooms got that card. And then another portion got a card that said, please reuse our towels. The amount of money that we save from you reusing your towels, we will donate to an environmental organization. This did not work at all. They didn't see any improvement across the board from the two different cards in each hotel room. And you would think that, logically, if a hotel says that they're going to donate a certain amount of money to an organization, because of me, a guest staying there, I would want to reuse my towel more often. But no, this didn't work at all. They didn't see any improvement between the two cards. So what they changed on the card was saying that they already donated on behalf of their guests. So they already donated on behalf of their guests because other guests kind of did do the environmentally friendly thing where they reused their towels and all of that money got donated. So that made it more of an incentive that had no strings attached. So knowing that the hotel already donated, not based on what I would have to do, but based on what other people have already done. So that kind of helped really increase. I think it increased by, the book said 45%, I believe. 45% were more likely to reuse their towels when they switched the wording on the cards to that. So I think that just shows that just tweaking your wording and tweaking the way that you present something to people really shows how much our brains can just do something totally different than what it would have done. So from no change at all to a 45% increase. That's pretty astronomical. I think that should prove something to us. So this chapter, basically the takeaway from it is that, when you're trying to solicit for cooperation, you want it to seem unconditional, and you want it to seem like there's no strings attached, because that makes people want to do it more. All right. Those are my chapters, chapter 11 and 12. Thank you for watching.